This one is the death of mainstream. Let's see how this goes.
High quality content available than ever before, and yet most people feel like there is something missing. There was once a time where it felt like we were all on the same wavelength when it came to entertainment.
Oh man, I'm just seeing Nickelodeon Guts, and I'm having such nostalgic flashbacks right now. I didn't see it when it was airing, but there was a channel called Nick Gas or Nick Games and Sports that would have reruns of Guts, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Double Dare, and I would see those. Yeah, who could forget? Who could forget? Do you have it? Guts! Oh, there's the Legends of the Hidden Temple logo right there. I was like born in the late 90s rather than when these shows were airing, but these were so nostalgic to look back on. All of that was one that I discovered like much later, but that was interesting to look back on even though I didn't grow up with that show. I grew up with the Amanda Show though, but that was like way after all that.
And pop culture. Everything felt more impactful. Movies were bigger. Music spread further. Famous people were actually famous. Awards meant something. And if there was a shocking story in the news, it was impossible to miss.
I'm pretty sure that story is definitely hard to miss.
It was much easier to have your finger on the pulse of pop culture, and it created this bond that we had together as strangers. And we took it for granted, because now that...
Wait, what was that dance What was that dance that Will was doing?
This bond that we had together as strangers, and we took it for granted, because now that
catch me at the club doing that.
bond is gone, the world of entertainment, music, movies, shows, social media feels oversaturated, confusing, and dull. I bet most of you can relate to this. How many times these days does someone say to you, "Hey, did you hear about," or "Hey, did you see," and not only is your answer no, but you literally have no idea what they are talking about. Life wasn't always like that. What we are missing today and for the past few years is a monoculture, which is essentially one culture that all Americans are connected to. Sometimes I even call it the death of mainstream, because nothing really feels mainstream anymore.
Interesting.
Every decade had their own version of monoculture that was seemingly easily defined. But what will define the 2020s? Monoculture is dead. And for anyone watching this,
my guess, something that would define the 2020s, absolute chaos. The good kind and the bad.
That's like a teenager or younger, it means nothing because they can't relate to that experience. But literally anyone older than that remembers their version of monoculture and probably misses it because it represents a much more simple time. Every generation before Gen Alpha had limited options for entertainment.
Man, seeing these kinds of TVs on these kinds of stands, that also takes me back.
And they thought it was a burden, flipping through TV channels saying, oh, there's nothing to watch. But now our options are infinite. 3.7 million YouTube videos uploaded every day, one streaming service with every song ever made, and 100,000 new songs being uploaded every day.
And unfortunately, that service will also have some people sneaking in like AI generated content and that, but anyways.
Dozens of subscription services with thousands of movies.
Would social media kind of be a monocultural phenomenon? I guess so.
TV shows, a literal endless singular feed of short form videos that one can spend hours without realizing the time has passed. And
oh boy. Yeah, my only use for TikTok has just been sharing clips of mine. Because if I start, like, actively searching through videos on there, or, like, look at every video that someone sends me on there through DMs, then I know I'm going to be hooked. I've had that kind of thing with other platforms, and I've since then had to take a step back from those.
Despite having access to all of this content, a lot of us feel
I know how dangerous
and disconnected from each other. Well, today I want to talk about that feeling. That feeling like something is missing. I believe it is tied to the death of monoculture. So let's dive into how we got here, where it went wrong, and actually why some of you might consider it to be a good thing.
You may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
The available technology. The easier it is to consume, the less impactful it is. Movie theater ticket sales had their all-time peak in the US in 1946. Over 90 million weekly admissions were recorded, which means that about 60% of the US population went to go see a movie that.
And I feel like some of those theaters, considering it was the 30s, 40s, and 50s, there were like a lot of cartoons and I don't know what to call the Three Stooges, like series of short films. Those were like shown in theaters back then, right?
A year. Now, were movies objectively better in 1946? Absolutely not. There were just less of them, and less entertainment overall. The introduction of the television likely slowed down movie ticket sales, but opened up a whole new opportunity for entertainment. Cartoons, sitcoms, and of course, ads. But even television has its limitations. You had to watch the show at the exact time it aired, or you missed it and had to wait for someone to tell you what happened the next day. Or even worse, you had to read this book called the TV Guide to figure out when they were going to air a rerun.
You gotta put in the effort to look for the good stuff.
So competition for attention was fierce, but that also meant that millions of people were watching the same thing at the same time. With most households operating on 9-to-5 work schedules, the only time carved out to entertain yourself was between 7 and 10. This was known as prime time, and that's when the few good shows were on. Families watched the same things together, and a new episode airing at 8 p.m. on a weeknight could dominate school hallways and office break rooms the next day. Worst case scenario, you could stay up for late night television where Letterman would catch you up on all your pop culture news.
I still used to, you guys. They have a website.
Kind of operating on the same
wavelength, right, they do.
And the entertainment added to our humanity. That is, unless you were entirely disinterested from the few available shows and movies, then you had no other options, your life sucked, and you were looking for other forms of entertainment like heroin. But at least back
what? I mean, I guess that was common back then.
Back then, it didn't have fentanyl in it. But the way people consumed movies and televisions stayed relatively the same for decades. By the 1970s, 95% of households had a TV in it. And then in the 80s and 90s, there was a massive uptick in available entertainment, like an entire TV channel dedicated.
Friends was one of those shows I didn't get into until, like, I had access to Netflix when it was on there. Mainly enjoy it for Chandler.
To showing music videos, or an
because I'm a sucker for the snarky, sarcastic kind of characters.
Entire channel dedicated to showing cartoons. But even with more niche options, primetime shows still dominated pop culture, and Americans still felt a sense of togetherness through a somewhat limited availability. Is music not hitting the same anymore? Doesn't it feel like you used to have a connection with others based on a shared love for the same music? Well, music had a similar permeating connection to monoculture with a few key differences.
I wonder where this is going.
For most of the 20th century, music was somewhat of a luxury. Today, for $15 a month, you can get access to every song ever made and 100,000 new ones uploaded daily. $15 used to get you one album.
With some alternatives, apart from Spotify, but yeah.
And you had to take your happy ass to a record store and physically buy it. And
the downside to that being that you don't really own the music. Unless you have the download feature for those songs and a lot of storage, then if the internet is not working for you, those songs are just gone. And if you stop paying, then the songs are pretty much just gone. Unless you're willing to put up with the ads. And I don't know many people that are willing to put up with Spotify ads. Shout out to Tidal. Shout out to... I don't know if I could say that.
If the album was in high enough demand,
for legal reasons,
and they might not actually have it. And that seems like a dumb thing to say, but in our modern
you're not wrong.
Culture, entertainment is never not available to you. These stores often had a strong sense of community and served as a gathering place for music fans. It wasn't unusual for artists to stop in and play mini concerts or sign albums before
I want that bass, not gonna lie.
An appearance in a particular city. When people bought an album, they were...
I mean, I have one. That image just made me feel like wanting to play bass again.
Now invested. They worked hard for that money. So to get the value back, they actually listened to the whole thing. They even tried to...
I have 3 vinyls, but I don't have a record player, so it's unfortunate that I can't actually play those. I would like to, though.
Like the songs that they didn't initially like because they paid for it, which ultimately made them
I need to try playing bass. I also need to actually practice guitar once in a while. Same. At most, I could play like the generic blues riff on an acoustic guitar.
Appreciate the artistry on a different depth.
I would just team up with a friend of mine that could just improvise the most unusual blues lyrics, or I could just play that blues riff on and on while they just rant angrily about something, and it could make a killer blues song.
Uninterrupted focus on the music built a deeper connection from the fans to the artist. Fans had to imagine what their favorite musicians were like based on
Shout out to David Bowie.
A few interviews, and carefully staged photographs in magazines or posters on their wall.
I just need to actually get back on Rocksmith.
Pop stars felt larger than life, almost like fictional characters, which is why people would pass out at the mere sight of Michael Jackson.
Heck, I would.
Today, we have countless interviews and endless access to all of their thoughts and opinions on social media. That mystery is gone. Artists are more accessible than ever, and because of that, they feel less special. And since music was basically a luxury, most people didn't have tons of disposable income to buy every release they wanted to listen to. So they typically resorted to listening to the radio or watching MTV. You couldn't just search your favorite Guns N' Roses song and get that instant gratification. You had to turn on MTV and just wait for it to come on, but in the meantime, you were consuming tons of other good songs that made you a more well-rounded music listener. And that was the same predicament for everyone. So at school dances, parties, or clubs, everyone felt connected because the songs that were being played were the ones that everyone had the same access to. A lot of club DJs today still mostly play music from the 2010s, and a lot of people wonder why they aren't playing more modern music. Like, are we all crippled by nostalgia? Well, not necessarily, but
I might be. No, I'm just kidding.
When you play music from
I'm not going to be one of those kinds of people as like, oh, I was born in the wrong generation. There are fantastic songs out there in like the modern day. You just gotta find them. People didn't just sit by radios all day. They went to hangout spots that had jukeboxes. They had a device where they could request tunes. Exactly. There would be like quite a few times where I'd be at a restaurant, and anytime that they'd have a jukebox, you would catch me hooked on those jukeboxes, seeing what songs they would have available. And I remember this one arcade that I'd go to that had like it had like so many options of songs on there. And the first thing I did was choose Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley.
The 2010s, you can kind of guarantee
I was that kind of person.
Everyone in the club is going to know those songs. Whereas
a lot more people are shut-ins now than back then. They just partook in what the malt shop had laying around and whatnot. Yeah, exactly. Like pinball and how that became a craze. You'd catch me hooked on like a lot of the different pinball machines of the different themes.
Today, everyone just listens to vastly different music. What's considered extremely popular and mainstream to you might literally not be considered extremely popular and mainstream to the person next to you.
Yeah, it could be different among the different people.
Today, we have unlimited access to every song ever made.
But you don't own them, unfortunately.
New song or album drops, it is just right there in your phone. You don't have to talk to anyone, don't have to buy it, don't have to wait. Most of the time, the artist is actually begging you to listen to it, or you accidentally found out about it. You didn't even want to discover it. Most people have resorted to just letting the algorithm decide what music to recommend to them because it's easier than doing all of the effort I just talked about before. Combine this lack of mono connectivity through music, requiring absolutely no effort to get access to the music, as well as artists not having the star power due to overexposure, and surprise, music holds absolutely no value to the average casual listener. Once we entered the 2000s, the rapid advancement of available technology caused a dominant monoculture to become more.
I think we've had a stereo like this, actually. Not with those particular stickers. And I definitely remember seeing those kinds of TVs. And who could forget Minesweeper and the DSi? Wait, Bush. Where's Bush? Oh, the brand. I don't know why I thought it was George W. Bush for a second.
More fragmented. TVs were becoming cheaper, bigger, and higher quality.
Oh, one of these computers. I've definitely been familiar with that kind of monitor, especially back when the elementary schools would have like all these different computers.
Internet was getting faster, becoming easier to access and navigate. Cell phones were in everyone's pocket.
That looked like a very complicated looking phone.
Becoming more connected than ever, but we didn't realize it was actually going to drive us further apart.
I mean, yeah, he's not wrong. There are like a lot of people that would be just driven into smaller, more gated communities, just withdrawing into their own forums, as the line from Metal Gear Solid 2 would put it.
Opinion, 2000 to 2010 was a great sweet spot for pop culture. I would describe today's culture as everything all at once, and the early 2000s was the same.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. A movie I've never seen.
But it was slightly more manageable. Let's start simple. Movies. Here's a graph of every movie released per year around the world. You can see the quantity of movies released remained relatively the same from the early 1970s to the late 1990s. And it just started slowly ramping up in the 2000s before it exponentially exploded. Back then, there was a rhythm to it all. You'd get 2 or 3 massive blockbusters every summer. Movies like Spider-Man, Pirates of the Caribbean or The Dark Knight, which dominated culture for weeks. As fall and winter rolled in,
many
we'd
options.
see smaller budget, more experimental, or just simple films rise to the surface. Movies like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Little Miss Sunshine, Juno, and Requiem for a Dream.
Okay, Juno's the only one of these that I've heard of.
Everyone kind of knew what was coming and when it was coming, and that predictability created a shared sense of anticipation. Even smaller budget films had a shot at becoming massive, and the reason they had a shot was because
I've definitely
people
been familiar with
went
Napoleon
to the theaters.
Dynamite,
Our
even though I
last
haven't
peak
seen it.
in movie theater ticket sales was in 2002 when 1.5 billion tickets were sold. But even if you didn't go to the theater, we had
the drop in 2020 makes absolute sense.
These really cool things called DVDs, where you could buy the movie that you missed and watch it at home. And if you didn't want to commit to buying it, no worries. You could rent the film for a few bucks by going to this magical place called Blockbuster.
Rest in peace, Blockbuster.
This is a store where you could essentially browse all of the movies that you didn't get the chance.
You probably definitely heard the theme from Requiem, really me? Lux Eternia, I think it's called. Oh, okay.
Chance to see. You would actually talk to the employee who worked there, and they would give you a recommendation or tell you what everyone else is renting.
Just make sure you're going. You just have to make sure that you'd be going to Blockbuster and not Blockblister.
Sometimes a movie was in such high demand that
if you get that reference, you deserve a medal.
All of their copies would be rented and you couldn't get it. Imagine that. Imagine any form of entertainment being unavailable for you today. Scarcity created demand, and it made the film more exciting. It made you want to watch it more. Most of those crappy yet special early 2000s comedies were the perfect films to pick up at a Blockbuster, and people loved that place. The company earned $5 billion in revenue in 2004. The point is that you and everyone around you had this physical connection with the entertainment and was actively using their brain to choose what they wanted to consume. TV still had a somewhat similar rhythm in the 2000s.
Hey, Tiger Woods
was still valuable airtime.
MTV was
doing
in its nowadays.
best era, in my opinion, having a plethora of terrible yet oddly captivating reality TV shows.
Oh, just had to remind me of Jersey Shore. You just had to remind me of that. Interestingly, I think I've never seen a single episode of it, thankfully. I've just known that there was a whole bit in the Three Stooges adaptation that just has Moe beating the heck out of the characters from the Jersey Shore, which I'm sure it would have been entertaining to see, but it also gave them more attention.
Series while still having their sister network, MTV2, play music videos 24/7. It was one of the most versatile eras for mainstream music, with lyrical rap, crunk rap, rock, emo rock, country, pop, EDM, R&B, and countless other genres in a healthy rotation on MTV and the radio. It was just on the cusp of being overwhelming, but having it all contained on MTV and VH1 made it still manageable to keep up with. Kids were absolutely consumed by Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, and Cartoon Network, which were
same, although I didn't get into Disney Channel and Cartoon Network until much later. Well, when I was an older kid, rather. Nickelodeon I've watched for years ever since. I think since I was like 5 or 6.
Three separate networks that each had 2 to 3 shows worth paying attention to in their respective eras. We still had a healthy separation between our personal lives and our school and work life from 9 to 5, only entertaining ourselves lightly in the morning and in the evenings. We didn't have a phone to distract us from literally every millisecond of boredom. The entertainment options still felt limited enough.
Oh yeah, having access to the phone would definitely take us out of the moment.
Was on the same wavelength. Plus, we were still at the mercy of knowing the schedule of when new shows were going to air. But that started to die when cable companies provided DVR capabilities. You could now record your favorite shows and movies and watch them later whenever you wanted.
And you can skip the ads.
This was the beginning of the streaming service era takeover that so many people today loathe.
Oh boy.
Today, you may feel like you are not as connected to the culture because 1, less people are going to the theaters, and 2, the DVD and TV business has been demolished by streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, etc.
Yeah.
Being able to stream anything, anywhere, anytime, all while being alone in your room means there's no anticipation, no excitement, nobody to share the experience with, and therefore, no real reason to watch.
And the other downside being, like, think of all the streaming services you'd have to subscribe to be able to catch up with everything. Because there are some shows that are just on Netflix, some shows that are just on HBO Max, some shows that are just on Hulu, and so on and so forth. So if you wanted to, like, be truly up to date with all the shows out there and all the movies out there, think about how much that would take from your wallet to just be subscribed to all of those.
Which is why you simply scroll and scroll through endless choices, waiting for something to magically grab your attention, waiting for something to give you a reason to watch, but it just never happens.
Plus, there could be the paralysis of too many options there.
On a lighter note, every now and again, we do have a monoculture moment. I think back to the Barbie movie where girls were excited to dress in all pink and drag their boyfriends to the theaters, only for the guys to immediately after drag their girls to see Oppenheimer, where I'm assuming many of them fell asleep. I think back to Squid Games, where it felt like everyone and their mother was blindsided by this dystopian critique of capitalism disguised as a up game show. As far as films go, it feels like it's only every couple of years where there is a moment that we are all in sync, when it used to be literally all year, every year. I can't even remember the last time music had a monoculture moment. I mean, sure, radio is still kind of relevant. TikTok made popular songs more popular, but there's so much music all over the place all the time that I don't even know what anybody's listening to anymore. For TV, Yellowstone, Severance.
I could not be bothered to see what, like, every single person out there is listening to. But if there's, like, music that stands out to me, then I will do, like, some kind of a deep dive into it if it just stands out that much to me.
White Lotus, Love Island. I mean, they are extremely popular, but can we say everyone is watching those shows?
I'm not.
Will those shows define this era? I bet there are a ton of you watching that are like, I didn't watch a single one of those shows.
Okay, no need to call me out like that.
The irony of it all is that the death of a
Severance was actually really good. Really?
unified culture everyone seems to be feeling came with our pursuit to be more connected than ever before, because the adaptation of the internet and social media into our everyday lives was the nail in the coffin for monoculture. By the turn of the century, everyone with extra cash had a computer somewhere in the house. Our parents were using them to basically replace what the newspaper did for decades. As the desktops and internet connection got faster, we looked at forums, chatted through AOL Instant Messenger, played simple flash games on Newgrounds, and even
on the family computer as well.
Bid on random antiques from eBay. Being connected to random people all over the world was beautiful. You were no longer limited to the thoughts, beliefs, and interests of those in your geographical location.
Imagine having to explain like the recent use of a violent flash game on the family computer. That had to have been a very awkward situation.
Internet was still somewhat difficult to navigate. You know, there was a time when Google didn't have all the answers. You had to check other search engines like Yahoo and my favorite, Ask Jeeves, to find.
Ask Jeeves was a thing? I knew about Yahoo, which was not used as much as Google, but I completely forgot that Ask Jeeves was a thing.
Find what you were looking for. Videos would take forever to load, the quality was often terrible, and sometimes just straight up didn't work. Using the internet kind of felt like exploring uncharted land. That friction, scarcity, and lack of instant gratification was what made it special. It was worth working for. Today, we just expect things to work. We demand convenience, and we are willing to give up our human autonomy for it.
Down with convenience. I'm gonna say it right now.
Initially, the entertainment industry as a whole saw the internet as a threat because of...
Well, convenience to a point, I'm against. Let's not make things too easy to the point where they could just pull the rug underneath us.
Piracy. Suddenly, millions of people could
Oh, here we go. This topic.
Download movies, music, and TV shows for free through networks like Napster, LimeWire, and torrent sites, completely bypassing traditional revenue models. Studios, labels, and networks feared the collapse of their business structures, as physical sales and TV deals were at the risk of being replaced. The internet stripped them of control, and for the first time, the consumer had the power to access content without paying a cent.
By the way, piracy is a service issue. Quote Gabe Newell.
From the consumer's perspective, the logic was simple. Why pay for something when you can get it for free instantly?
I mean, the things that would have a slight chance of stopping you was if the ISP that you're under would be getting so much emails that they would actually have to take action. I don't know if that has ever happened, but the idea of that can be terrifying.
wasn't just about being cheap, it was about convenience. Buying a CD or DVD meant going to a store, spending 10 to 20 bucks, and hoping you'd like the full
unless you have a VPN.
Album or movie. Then again, people didn't realize the nuanced
That's just to go with what I was saying earlier.
Value of the additional human experiences they got while consuming entertainment. All that driving to the store, talking to people, limited inventory, sitting on a sticky theater seat, that was all just considered to be an inconvenient cost to getting what you wanted. But you could.
With some of the media going missing, that's another service issue, because like how do I word this thing that's also a service issue is when certain shows and movies are just completely gone. Like any DVD of them, any Blu-ray of them, they're just not there either, or they're super hard to find without paying an arm and a leg, though that's mainly the case with GameCube games. But still, if there are movies and shows that are that hard to find, like just completely gone from anywhere, then yeah, people are going to be driven to piracy. So that is something that if companies don't want that to happen, you really got to ask yourself what you can do about that rather than just punish the people that are turning to piracy.
Wouldn't argue against the value that the internet brought to individuals. It gave everyone a voice, a platform, and endless options tailored exactly to their preferences. And that
if I disappear after talking about all of that, you know what happened.
Ramped up significantly in 2003 when MySpace became the first widely accepted platform for social media.
At least I have you, Tom.
By 2005, the platform had around 300 million users and had an estimated valuation of over $10 billion. The platform allowed people to share their personal passions and stories as individuals.
That was something that I missed out on because I'm pretty sure I was too young to have a MySpace.
Nobody in your real life aligned with your
I'm so cringe that Tom would unfriend me. Oh, I'm sorry to hear, Six.
Interests, you would be able to find a community of like-minded people online. People started calling random strangers on the internet their friends. They became
I don't know what to say about that.
Invested in their lives, wanting to know what they were doing in their geographical location. You're connected.
Although we're at a point where it could start with something like that, and the two people will go from that to mutuals to genuine friends. And it's very interesting to see that go the direction that it can.
To random people around the world started to make you disconnected from those physically around you. Slowly, the digital world began to feel more important than the physical one. As platforms evolved, first with Facebook, then Instagram, and eventually TikTok, the focus shifted even further.
I've learned pretty well that long-distance friends are just as legitimate as anyone local to you. Yeah, there are great people out there that are not close by, and great people that are close by, in the same way that there are not so great people out there on the internet very far away, but there are also not great people nearby. So it really comes down to not just whether or not you could trust some person that you met online, it's whether or not you could trust some person that you met, period. The earth is tiny as heck anyway. Exactly. That Disney ride, they knew what they were singing about.
Away from a shared experience and towards personal branding. Algorithms were designed not to connect people as a whole, but to keep you personally engaged, feeding you content you already agreed with or found entertaining. The internet became less of a town square and more of an echo chamber.
You can go anywhere on Earth within 24 hours if you have money. Distance has become more meaningless over time. Agree. Huge agree.
Reflecting only your own tastes, beliefs, and biases back at you, just so you wouldn't click off the app. Social media stopped being about community and became a stage where everyone was the main character of their own story. It made individuals feel more powerful than ever, which could be considered a good thing, but it also created a cultural landscape more narcissistic, divisive, and isolated than any era in history. So the reason why movies, TV, YouTube, social media, and literally all other forms of entertainment don't feel the same is a combination of really complicated nuances. However, with a shift in mentality, you could look at all of this as a good thing. If you are a strong-minded individual, introverted, or just someone who doesn't really care about a sense of community and those around you, you are in the golden ages. For decades.
We invented trains not just to do business and be productive. Humankind also universally visiting friends. I wish it were that easy for me to get to a train just to see all the cool people that I know that live very far away from me. You know what we need? We need teleportation to be a thing already. That would save so much trouble with not just visiting each other, but going to cons as well with how expensive things have been. Or we just need to find a way to accurately channel Goku's instant transmission. It sounds nerdy as heck, but I wish that was a thing. And the people that I know around the world and around the country continue to make me wish that it was real.
Decades, if you didn't fit into the narrow lens of what the mainstream deemed valuable, if you didn't like the biggest pop star or wear the right clothes or relate to the 5 TV shows everyone else watched, you were invisible. You had nowhere to go. You were the weird kid, the quiet one, the one who...
You merely adopted the weird kid kind of personality. I was born in that personality, molded by it.
Who didn't belong. But now the internet gives you infinite options to find belonging.
I never did belong in the
interest you may
first place.
have, no matter how unique it is, chances are there is a niche community where someone like you isn't just accepted, you're celebrated. Do you like wolves eating watermelons? So do 61,000 other people. Do you
I did not know that was a thing.
like stapling bread to trees? So do
I did not know that was a thing
335,000
either.
other people. Today, a girl who was once mocked in school for drawing anime characters in her notebook can become a full-time artist with a fan base of thousands or millions. A kid who was laughed at for making weird songs on his cracked BandLab app can go viral on TikTok and then chart on the Spotify Viral 50. A filmmaker
Yeah, it is crazy
with no
how that can
connections
happen.
and no budget can put their short film on YouTube and have it resonate with millions of people around the world. These stories were impossible in the monoculture era because the gatekeepers decided what was and what wasn't. Before the internet, independence was next to impossible, and today the gatekeepers have less power than ever. So maybe entertainment feels more chaotic, more overwhelming, and less special. Maybe we are no longer all connected under a simple, easy to navigate monoculture, but there is more opportunity than ever for a small independent creator to get a taste of that success. And for consumers, if you know what your interests are and do not let algorithms decide what you want to watch and are willing to do the tedious task to actively get outside of the echo chamber that these algorithms are trying to hold you in and find that one quality YouTuber or that one underrated Hulu series, then you are probably completely fine with today's entertainment climate. Build your own world. Who cares about community? This is your life. Now, I personally go back and forth on my
Interesting
feelings
way of
towards the death of
putting that.
monoculture. I don't personally feel drowned out in content. Since I have terrible movie and TV taste, I will watch just about anything as long as there is a decent premise for the plot. As far as music,
There will be like some movies that I'll watch that is both good and bad. The good ones I'll watch genuinely. The bad ones I'll watch if I can get a laugh out of them. To Boldly Flee, the Channel Awesome movie, it's bad and I could not get a laugh out of that until a good friend of mine, Justin, had joined to riff on it. And that saved that night. I will keep talking about this until the day I'm no longer here. He saved that movie viewing, and I'm glad he did. Because me and Momo, when we saw that together, they had fallen asleep, and I was just about to be bored out of my mind. So once again, Justin really saved that night.
goes, I am totally willing to put in the grind to find my new favorite artist, and I'm actually one of those annoying people who kind of starts to dislike someone when they get more famous. So I actively look for underrated talent, and Spotify and social media makes that a million times easier and more convenient.
That sentence has me asking chat, would you still love me if I was famous? I mean, I would hope to not be like super famous. The name has been getting out there a little bit more, but I don't know how I feel about getting like extremely famous. That'd be like very overwhelming.
But at the same time, I do miss that sense of monoculture. I play a lot of golf, and when I meet new people, I've had countless conversations that lead nowhere because we have absolutely nothing in common due to being stuck in totally different algorithmic echo chambers. Sometimes the golfers don't even watch golf, so I'm just like,
Really?
how's the weather? And obviously I'm a creator, so I'm benefiting from
I mean, now that I think about it, it does make sense that some would prefer to play golf rather than watch it.
System that was created for me to succeed. And because of my feelings going back and forth, my channel is somewhat a reflection of the lack of and yearning for an entertainment monoculture. My YouTube channel is kind of like a 2000s MTV inspired hodgepodge of modern pop culture.
It
Firstly,
kind of
I'm
is.
reliable. posting every Monday at 3:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And every week we talk about something pop culture related. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's film, sometimes it's internet personalities, sometimes it's a comedian, action sports star, politics. The modern YouTube algorithm wants
a lot of
you
different
to keep
things.
making the same video over and over with the same thumbnails and dominate one specific niche, which is why you see so many successful channels being repetitive, because that is literally what works.
I wonder if that's why, like, sometimes when I upload something, with how varied it can be, it'll just sometimes, like, not get much anywhere compared to others. Because I like to experiment, not just stick with one kind of gameplay video highlight collection. Sometimes I'll want to make something like that. Sometimes I'll want to make a video essay now and then. Sometimes I'll want to just make whatever edit comes to mind.
I try to keep a balance, and because of that, some videos get more views than others. Some videos bomb, but I hope you enjoy me
sometimes
keeping
that's
that old,
just how it
early
is.
2000s variety. You can come to my channel to keep you updated with modern pop culture and feel some tiny slice of that monoculture we all used to love.
And I
Also,
probably will.
This was kind of a different style of video for my channel. I usually stick to documentaries that are objective and fact-based, but recently I've just kind of been wanting to switch it up a little bit. So I'll be looking at the comments to see what you guys think about this more conceptual or think piece rant type of video. So let me know what you think.
And
Thanks
it's been
for
an
watching,
interesting,
and I'll see you
it's
next
been an
Monday.
interesting kind of video that he'd make.